last week's Blues continued. It was all about the COVID woes and betting strategies to try to counterbalance that. Brett, I went 1-5 last episode. This is episode 184 of The Next Best Bet. I'm Jake Higgins with Brett Levy. Looking at how we did last episode, I went 1-4. I decided to be ambitious, try to put blinders on, and bet based off the analytics. You decided to hold off until as close to game time as possible. How did you do?
Yeah, Higgins, you know what? I just kind of stayed away this week. This week was not that exciting. And then you watch some of these 1 o'clock games, Higgins, and, I feel like I made a good choice not being too invested in some of these football games. The 4 o'clock games brought some excitement, I guess you could say, Higgins, but kind of a boring 1 o'clock slate where arguably the most back and forth game of the whole 1 o'clock slate was my Jets and the Miami Dolphins.
And then, we had some interesting earlier games as well, Brett. Going back to your COVID strategy of last episode, saying you were going to wait till close to game time, wait till lineups were out and COVID tests were cleared and everything so we knew who were participating. I did follow that and posted plays on social media between last episode and now, and that did work out a lot better than my 1-4 picks, that some of those were 3-4 days out. So this episode, I'm going to give out a few leans that we're going to see where I'm at on social media as we get closer to game time. But then I'm also going to give out some picks, but only for Monday games. I'm not going to be looking too far down the road. I think you convinced me.
All right, fair enough. And yeah, Higgins, we saw leagues change rules since the last recording of our podcast to get guys back in quicker, to help prevent huge outbreaks like this. So we'll see what happens moving forward. We'll have to keep our eye on it, but hopefully something like this should not happen again in the NFL or NBA, NHL. NHL, Higgins, actually suspended cross-border games.
Yes, they did.
So, just tons of stuff for us to keep following and keep our eye on. It's a crazy and wild time.
It is very wild, and it is, to your point from last episode and this, paramount to stay up to date on all of this information so you know who's playing in these games that you're betting on. And these lines, they're going to shift. I've seen them move a lot day in and day out because this news is changing widely. But Brett, let's get into our beginner's boulevard and talk about a term that's very important as we go through bowl season, as we go through the end of the NFL regular season here, as we have holiday games and tournaments going on. That is college basketball, NBA, NHL. There's so much to bet on that it can be very easy to go chasing, but a bettor never wants to go chasing, right, Brett?
No, you should not go chasing. It's basically, placing larger wagers to try and make back money lost, Higgins. I'm sure you have a more official definition for us, but look, that's what we try and talk about here in Beginners Boulevard, is giving people, good betting strategies, safe betting strategies. If you ever have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them here as well. But chasing it's a bad habit, Higgins, that new bettors typically get into, and it's typically a tough lesson learned.
A lot of times it involves increasing the amount that you're betting on these bets, but doesn't necessarily have to be that. It's really whenever you're placing additional bets after you're already losing for the day. And that's why it's also really important to kind of have a daily cap on how much you're really willing to bet in a day. I understand if you're on a heater, you may raise that, but you need to have a hard cap on how much you're willing to lose in a day. It's part of bankroll management, right?
Absolutely, and typically you just You're just reacting to something when you're making these bets. It's not the best strategy by
It's
any
emotional.
means.
It's
Yeah.
purely emotional a lot of times with these chasing. It's not a lot of research. It's running to the window before a game's about to start. It's turning on a game that might already be going and betting on it immediately based off pure gut and momentum feel. It's not a lot of analysis at all, and it's very, very risky. So not recommended in the slightest to be chasing. But Brett, let's move on and talk about some games that hopefully are going on Monday. And we'll start off in the NHL because I guess that might be where the biggest question mark has been. You mentioned at the top of the podcast the news that they're not crossing borders right now between Canada and the United States as they play these games. Last season, they had to have 4 specific divisions, a north, south, east, and west, in order to have an NHL season. And we're seeing some teams have long breaks without playing, and we're seeing some that are playing fine, but they're getting games postponed because of the other teams having COVID issues. Both of these games that I have lines for to look at on Monday kind of deal with that, Brett, and it really depends on this COVID news. I'll give you the Blue Jackets and Sabres game, for example. The Blue Jackets, they had to cancel practice on Sunday, so is this game on Monday actually even going to happen? I mean, 3 players tested positive. That's why they canceled the practice on Sunday. I don't know if that's enough to maybe postpone Monday's game. Who knows if it results in additional people testing positive, though, after you just had 3 people test positive. So I don't know whether this game happens or not. I do know that all of that news surrounding Columbus right there does have me leaning with the Sabres. A Sabres team that's just under 500 at home. I mean, Sabres not playing well on the road. Blue Jackets playing abysmally on the road, though, at 5-10 whenever they're on a road stretch. So if this game happens, I'll be back in Buffalo, but it's a lean right now on Sunday night because I really don't know if this game happens.
Yeah, well, I think you raised some good points, and I guess if they do play Higgins, I'd want to be on the team that's healthier as well. But I know you have another lean for Monday night, so let's hop into that one too.
If you take a look at the Minnesota Wild in their recent schedule, 2 of their past 3 games have been postponed. Sandwiched in the middle there was a loss against the Buffalo Sabres, Brett. But if you look at this upcoming Thursday, they are going to already have a game that was supposed to be against Detroit postponed. So some of these are long stretches where healthy teams can prepare days out for an opponent. I think that's going to make an interesting game in a Minnesota-Dallas scenario that has a storied history. I mean, Dallas originally being from Minnesota, it's always a little bit of an interesting central matchup here. The Stars, you look at how this team's played. I mean, their most recent game upcoming on Wednesday is going to be postponed, so they get to play Monday, and then they have a stretch after that. I don't know. I'd be leaning Minnesota, but this game I got to see as well before we get there.
Yeah, Higgins bringing up the Minnesota North Stars. Wow, these wounds run deep.
And, I mean, if you look at the Wild and how they've played so far, at least on the season, I mean, they're not that bad. At least on the road, they're fantastic. It's 10-2. It's at home that they're 9-6 and they've come back down to earth. But the Wild on the road, if this game happens, that's where I'd really be, because 10-2 on the road to start their season's a really strong start, and that's a tough record to back down, and some early confidence on the road.
Yeah, I definitely think you gave a lot of good reasons why we should be back in the Wild, Higgins. At times like this, I admit it all the time. Hockey is, unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess depending how you look at it, probably the sport, you know, Higgins, you buy a house, you're getting married, all of a sudden you have to cut some sports back a little bit. You know, I'm watching the NBA, I'm watching the NFL, watching college football. You know, at some point I got to go pick up the dry cleaning, Higgins. It's tough out here. And, you know, I'll do my best to watch the Rangers. They're playing very well. But I don't know very much about the Minnesota Wild. I don't know very much about the Dallas Stars. So, you know, for me to be betting with all this COVID going on these teams that I'm not watching, sure, I could look at the numbers like you, Higgins, and I think they make a lot of sense. But I don't truly have a sense of what's going on with these teams, so I'm staying away. But I like your reasoning in both these games. I'd want to be on the healthier team. I'd want to be on the team that maybe had a little more time to prepare. And also, you know, isn't coming back from like a COVID, you know, stoppage.
You're right. There's a ton of different sports going on, so you can only pay attention to so much. For you, it may be the NHL. For me, right now in December, it's college basketball. I've gotten to watch some games sparingly. A lot more games that I've been able to watch, though, are some NHL games. I've actually gotten to watch a lot of hockey. That's one of the benefits of that new ESPN Plus deal that I think they recently signed, is I've been able to watch a lot of hockey.
There
Jake's
you
liking that
go.
so far.
There you go. And a third person. Wow, who the hell is this guy? Who brought this guy here?
Let's go into the NBA, though, talk about some Monday games there, Brett. And you know, one thing you taught me about NBA teams is back-to-backs. It's a good spot to look to bet against. And the Hornets, they're playing in a back-to-back. Phoenix on Sunday night, Utah on Monday night. Not just two tough Western Conference teams, but the elevation change in Utah, Brett, something you also always bring up. I feel like I'm embodying you here with this a little bit, but Utah minus 11.5 feels, I know that's a lot of points for a Monday, but that's the play against a Hornets team that's on a back-to-back. A Hornets team that, while they're great against the spread so far this season, they're the fifth best at 18, 12, and 1. That's because they're 10-2 at home. On the road, they're average. The Jazz, they're 8-8 at home. I think they're going to get above 500 on this one.
Yeah, Higgins, I mean, you took the words almost right out of my mouth, except
I'm sorry. I stole your philosophy with my pick.
You're all good. No, I love it. But, you know, the one, I guess, you know, pause for me, right, is, I mean, Charlotte is just getting walloped right now in Phoenix. So I'd have to look and see what the starters' minutes were. Maybe they don't play as much in the second half because, I mean, I'm looking at the score nearly the end of the game here. It's like a 38-point game. So I don't know how close this one was throughout, Higgins, but I don't think it was the closest basketball game here. I know Devin Booker returned for Phoenix, I believe, on Sunday night.
Yes, he did.
So that could have been part of it as well. But yeah, I think we just want to double check the minutes before firing that bet. But look, if Charlotte's guys played big minutes, it's absolutely a tough spot. And I also think just in general, 11.5 is a big number. But look, Jazz are a good team, so it's not the worst lay in the world. And especially on the back-to-back strategy, like the books know it's a back-to-back too.
Well, looking at the box score to your point there, Brett, it looks like the only Hornets player to play above 30 minutes was Miles Bridges. So we'll see. I mean, LaMelo played 25 minutes. Hayward played 27 minutes. The reason the Suns really won, though, was just everyone played well. 9 players scored in double digits. So, I mean, that's just a lot of output. Devin Booker did come back. He had 16 points. But you have 9 players put up at least 10 points for you. It's hard to beat someone.
Yeah, no, that's obviously very efficient offense, and yeah, LaMelo's obviously also just coming back from. I believe he's coming back from the COVID list here, Higgins. So, I'm sure they'll ramp him up as they continue to go. We'll see what it looks like on a back to back though, but He might have been limited, even regardless going into this game, just because I'm not sure how many games he's been back from the COVID list. Gordon Hayward's been playing huge minutes for them. I believe he scored 41 the other night for Charlotte. So, that's probably more results based of a minutes cut there. And then Miles Bridges Higgins, no one's talking about it, but he's probably an all-star this year. Like, he's been playing
He
sensational
put up 26
for 'em.
tonight.
Yeah, he's been great for them. So, I'm a big Miles guy. I was with him his rookie year in Charlotte, and I'm happy to see him doing well down there.
I think one of my biggest things for backing the Jazz, though, at least something I've liked early on this year, and something I've started to even dabble with in the player props, Rudy Gobert averaging nearly 15 and 15. He's just hard to stop on the boards right now. I don't know if Mason Plumlee could do it. We'll see. That should be an interesting back-to-back night, though, for Mason Plumlee after having to face DeAndre Ayton on Sunday night and then going to face Rudy Gobert on Monday night. Those are two big bodies.
Yeah, that's very fun.
All right, Brett, I think we've talked enough about that NBA game, though. Let's move on to some money line magic. And there were some interesting games on Sunday that could have been money line magic. I mean, once again, the Detroit Lions got a big win. Is it money line magic, though? No, it's really just the biggest upset of the day. But, Brett, it's really deja vu because the last time the Lions got a win 2 weeks ago, the same thing took away from them being able to be money line magic, and we'll get there in a second with this Packers-Ravens game.
Oh man, these poor Lions. Can't they win on the right weeks? Jeez, what is up with them?
They've got a few more weeks opportunity to potentially make it to a money line magic. In a good way, they've been on the bad end a few times. But about this Packers-Ravens game, because I said it was like deja vu because 2 weeks ago, the Ravens lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers on a game-deciding two-point conversion attempt that was an incomplete pass to Mark Andrews. Now, that was with Lamar Jackson at quarterback. This week, Tyler Huntley was at quarterback with Jackson missing his first career NFL game due to injury. So instead, we have the backup quarterback, still puts up a very impressive game against the Packers, runs in 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to get close to tying this game. It's 31-30. All they have to do is kick an extra point with 40 seconds left. This game would go to overtime. But instead, Harbaugh backs the analytics again, Brett. Huntley, pass play to Mark Andrews. A few analysts after the game, as I was waiting for the Sunday night game to start, they didn't mind the Ravens going for it. They just didn't like the play call. Andrews doesn't make the catch because it's well defended. The Packers end up winning by 1, so no one covers in a game that moved from 5, I think, to all the way 9. I saw it before the starting kickoff. This was an absolute backdoor cover, first off, for the Ravens, but moneyline magic again with a 2-point conversion heartbreak.
Yeah, I mean, hey Higgins, let me give you my biggest takeaway. Here it is. You ready for this?
Let's
If
go.
I am playing the Baltimore Ravens and I am in a game and they're going for 2, the ball is going for Mark Andrews. Like
I would say so.
I think that was my biggest takeaway from this, Higgins. Also, I guess it's 1A and 1B. Tyler Huntley, man, welcome. He's going to be on the Chase Daniel plan, who was the Matt Flynn plan?
Yeah, welcome to the NFL. There's a chance he could still fight to potentially get a look from another team. I don't know, but he definitely has at least locked himself up as a very valuable backup.
Yeah, definitely going to be a well-off career for Tyler Huntley. Hopefully he doesn't get hit too much, carries that clipboard. I hope he stays behind Lamar because I think it's a great system fit for him. him and Lamar, schematically, you would draw up very similar type of plays, a lot of motion, a lot of, play action for these guys.
Huntley's favorite receiver, Mark Andrews. Lamar Jackson's favorite receiver, I'd say Mark Andrews, maybe Hollywood Brown, but Mark Andrews gets a lot of targets as well from Lamar Jackson. And then you look at how the Ravens got back into this game. Quarterback used his feet to score 2 touchdowns. That also sounds a lot like Lamar Jackson. I agree 100% there, Brett.
Yeah, so it's a good spot for the undrafted free agent, now in his second year in the league.
Yes, and it's a very interesting Moneyline Magic scenario because this AFC North goes from being 2 weeks ago in the Ravens' control to now the Ravens being tied with the Bengals at the top, but Cincinnati has the tiebreaker. And we're going to shift into the NFL now, Brett, because with that COVID news, which literally dropped, by the way, like hours after our podcast came out on Thursday, that there was going to be some games that got pushed back to Monday and Tuesday. So this week's continuing on for 4 more games. We've got 2 games on Monday, 2 games on Tuesday. Now, I'll look at those Tuesday games on Monday night, maybe place a bet on Tuesday, but as I said at the top, with these COVID rulings and everything right now, I'm only picking out at least 1 day ahead at most. So I'm looking at Monday's games, but even now it's going to be a lean. I got to find out who's going to be the quarterback for Cleveland, because this game could bring the Browns right into that same tie with the Bengals and the Ravens at 8-6 if the Browns can beat the Raiders on Monday night. But Baker tested positive for COVID. Case Keenum tested positive for COVID, so they're in the protocols right now. Are either of them able to make it on Monday? We don't know yet. We'll find that out on Monday. I need to know who's the quarterback. So I'm waiting.
Yeah, I would I think waiting on this one is a good call here, Higgins. I guess you could argue Case Keenum not a huge step down from Baker Mayfield, but probably pretty significant step down from those two is Nick Mullins. Look, games in Cleveland, I think that's obviously an advantage for Cleveland. So I think that's fair lean, Higgins. I don't really have an idea of what I think is going to happen in this one, but I'm expecting a lot of handoffs to Nick Chubb. So I don't really think quarterback play will be all that big of a factor here, regardless of the situation. I feel like it's going to be the Nick Chubb show.
Yes, and Kareem Hunt also on that COVID list right now, currently listed as out. Who knows if he somehow gets cleared by Monday? I don't know. But right now, Baker Mayfield, Case Keenum, and Kareem Hunt, I don't know if they're going to be on the field on Monday. I can't place the bet. This line's Cleveland -3 with all this uncertainty still on the Browns, though, Brett. And I can't imagine if Baker or Case Keenum gets approved, or if Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are in the backfield. It doesn't matter that it's Nick Mullins as the quarterback, because you have both of your running backs to run the ball 60 times in that game potentially. So I'd be interested to see how much this line moves depending on that COVID news.
Yeah, I would almost guess it doesn't move very much. I don't really think you move the line between Baker and Keenum. And then when you're going between a backup and a third string, how much do you want to move the line there? So, I mean, I'm with you. You're going to see like a half point to like a point and a half. But I don't think we'll see anything drastic to like where this thing goes to 6 or 7, you know? I think it'll be maybe to 4. Maybe we see it go to 4. Maybe we see it go to 3.5. So like, you know, they have to win by more than a field goal. But yeah, I definitely think you raised some good points about this game, Higgins, and why it's so important to wait until game time. But we have a double header on Monday night, Higgins.
Yes, we do. I picked the early game which, while it features a West Coast team, it's going to be on the East Coast in Ohio. So that's a 5 p.m. kick on the East Coast. 2 p.m. my time out here on the West Coast, Brett.
Well, no time like 2 p.m. Pacific to start watching Monday football.
As Jimmy Buffett says, it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Exactly. That's exactly what Jimmy Buffett says. Vikings Bears is the actual Monday Night Football game, or the one that was supposed to be played prior
regularly
to
scheduled
Yeah,
game.
exactly. Your regularly scheduled programming. I like that. Vikings Bears. Higgins, there is a really good history of home dogs just winning outright on Monday Night Football. So I'm just going to ask the Bears to cover, because asking Matt Nagy to win feels like a stretch here. But Chicago plus 6.5. Look, I mean, this is a risky play. The COVID, who knows? Things could change, but you can lock me in on this one, Higgins. I'm just backing. Historically speaking, if you're taking home dogs on Monday Night Football, you're doing the right thing.
This also just looks like a very smart bet in terms of where the public money and percentages are right now. Brett, this line opened with the Vikings at just 1 point favorites. That's all the way to 6.5 now. The Vikings have 86% of the money on them, 70% of the bets. And the lines move 5.5 points. And as you and I say, I mean, it's the book makes money for a reason. And typically, I mean, the public wins sometimes. But fading the public on a Monday night premiere game like this, I mean, Kirk Cousins in primetime, he did win a Thursday night game the other week in primetime. Does he lose on Monday night this time? Who knows?
Higgins, I forgot to tell you, I'm opening a house in the desert.
The House Levy.
Yeah, the Levy Buck.
The Hall. That's what I'm going to call it, the Hall.
The Hall.
The H-O-L.
H-O-L, Hall.
But, Brett, there's Tuesday games as well. We have some NFC West games between the Seattle Seahawks and the Los Angeles Rams, and then an NFC East game between the Washington football team and the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm looking at this Seahawks game and the Rams game more than I'm looking at the NFC East. I mean, the NFC East, and this is coming from a Giants fan, it's not very entertaining football this year. I mean, the Cowboys destroyed the Giants today. It wasn't even competitive. Jake Fromm didn't look bad in the final drive. But anyways, I digress. NFC West, Seattle Seahawks at Los Angeles Rams. And the Rams are like the second or third best team in the NFL at hitting overs from what I saw earlier this season. Second best. They're 7-5-1 on the season. Seattle, they're the third worst, but let's remember why. Russell Wilson was out for a while. He's back now, so over 46.5, that's where I'm leaning. But I got to make sure people are playing, so I'll place that bet Monday night, maybe Tuesday morning. You'll see a tweet out on our social media about that, maybe a post on our Instagram.
All right, sounds good, Higgins. And Tuesday night, there is a doubleheader, Washington, Philadelphia as well. We don't know what is going on with Washington's quarterback room, as Heineke and Kyle Allen are both in COVID protocols. We don't know what's going on in Philadelphia's quarterback room, as Jalen Hurts might be back, and it might not be the Gardner Minshew show like it would have been had this game been played earlier in the week. But Higgins, because there's so much uncertainty, there's no point in us talking about this one and breaking it down, because all this is going to change by the time anyone listens to this anyway.
Absolutely. And plus, we still have some college football bowl games to talk about, Brett. We're not at the end of our episode yet because we got, I mean, there is football basically every single day for the rest of 2021. If that's what you're trying to find the last 2 weeks, you can find it basically every day. Just look on the TV.
Yeah, we have a lot of football coming up at the end of the year. It's part of the fun of bowl season, Higgins. And look, the NFL COVID, postponements. We want everyone to be happy and healthy and safe, but I don't mind Tuesday night NFL football if I'm being a little selfish here.
I agree. I mean, I love the Tuesday night football. I mean, it's not. We love the Tuesday action. Why don't we love? Why not love the Tuesday NFL? You know what I mean?
Oh man.
We just want football in midweek. That's all
Just
we really
midweek
want.
football, yeah. You just compared Washington, Philadelphia to Maction. You poor soul.
Hey, based off how the NFC East plays, I don't know. Anyways, let's talk about our college football going on, because on Monday we have the very important Myrtle Beach Bowl presented by Tax Act, Brett, with Old Dominion versus Tulsa. And there's been a little bit of line movement. Just the hook's been taken off for me. Old Dominion was plus 9.5. Now they're plus 9. I'm going to ride with the Monarchs. And the reason being is they've won 5 straight, 3 of which they were underdogs in. Now, I just need them to cover 9 points, and I think they're going to play a competitive game, especially since they've been competitive in games that they've been underdogs in all year. So why not see that trend continue after they're riding a 5-game win streak? I think they want to go out on a high note.
All right, fair enough, Higgins. And then I'm going to jump over to Tuesday because there's a ranked team playing, a very exciting team. UTSA takes on San Diego State. And look, UTSA, a little bit of a darling this year in college football, Higgins. San Diego State, coached by Brady Hoke, the former Michigan coach. They went 12-1 this year, Higgins. Really good football team. He's built there in San Diego. So I don't have all the information. You could probably tell me, but I'm of the belief that the public will be on UTSA. People were talking about them all year, building them up, building a lot of excitement, trying to get college game day to UTEP UTSA game. And meanwhile, San Diego State under the radar, going 12-1 on the year, Higgins. So I don't think there's a lot of noise about SDSU, and I kind of like that. I kind of like that no one's talking about this really good football team.
Yeah, this is a really interesting line because it opened with UTSA being 2-point favorites. Now they're 2-point dogs. And if you look at the percentage of bets, I mean, 54% of it's on UTSA now, which, I mean, that makes sense with where the line has moved to. But you're right, San Diego State's played some tougher quality opponents, I think, and they've had a really successful season. So why wouldn't they want the cherry on top by getting this win over UTSA in demanding fashion? I really don't quite get this line.
Yeah, I guess one advantage for UTSA, San Antonio is only like, I don't know, 4 hours from Dallas or Frisco rather. So, you know, a little bit closer there, maybe slightly more fans. I don't know, Higgins, but I'm just trying to come up with a reasoning, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it should be an interesting game. I mean, you have a 12-1 team against an 11-2 team. I just think, I mean, San Diego State, they've gotten some really strong wins. I mean, they got Boise State, they got UNLV. They beat Utah, who won the Pac-12 this year. That was an overtime win for them. I mean, they got another Pac-12 win over Arizona, but that one's not nearly as impressive.
Look, they're just a good football team.
Yes, but Brett, there is one other college football bowl game that's going on before our next episode coming out on Thursday, so I want to at least mention it. Wednesday we have the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl, and I couldn't really find a line. I didn't really look that hard because it is on Wednesday, so that's a little too far out for me right now with the theme I'm going for this episode. But how can you bet against a military team in the Armed Forces Bowl?
That's a great question, Higgins. That would be a tough bet. I'm not really looking to back Eli Drinkwitz and Mizzou anyway, so look, you might be preaching to the choir here.
But an SEC matchup against Army, that's a big ask for Army. They don't play a lot of SEC competition, so who knows? That should be an interesting one on Wednesday night.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting matchup for sure. Missouri probably hasn't seen the triple option too frequently.
And we don't have NFL on Wednesday night. So, like I said, you get football every night, but Wednesday it's just college football. And it's a unique game at that. That's definitely going to be on my television.
Yeah, I'm with you, Higgins.
Let's get into our Levy Lock pick of the pod, though, Brett. I mean, you didn't have a Levy Lock last episode, but yours was technically that COVID sucks. I lost my pick of the pod, so I think you were right, so you get the honors.
Wow. Oh my God, that was my best lock ever. That's really good. I didn't even have to sweat that one, Higgins. I just knew right from the jump that COVID was not good. So yeah, I'm going with the home dogs on Monday Night Football, Higgins. It's just a great spot historically, coming home at about 56%. So, look, if you bet this, you're going to win it about 2 out of 3 blindly, Higgins. So I think that's kind of what you got to ride during this COVID week here. So I'm going to take the Bears plus 6.5. I do think, more goes into it than just looking at those stats. I think you do want to double check the lineups, make sure the quarterback's in, make sure the O-line is in good shape. If you're starting 5 new O-linemen, that's probably not good for the offense, Higgins. So you do want to double check everything, but generally speaking, Higgins, and, I like these trends that come home at a high rate. Monday night home dogs, big winners.
And as I said earlier, that line moved a lot, and a lot of the people and money are on the Vikings, so not a bad place for you to be. My pick of the pod, I'm going to go to the NBA. I'm embodying your philosophy, though, Brett. It's fading the back-to-back team that has to go up into altitude. The Hornets had to play on Sunday night in Phoenix. They play Monday night up in Utah, facing off against the Jazz. I don't know if Hornets show up or not. I'm taking the Jazz minus 11.5 at home.
All right. Well, I love the strategy, Higgins.
You have to be loving the strategy. I mean, you can't say anything otherwise. It's your strategy.
Yeah, someone smart must have gotten in your ear or something.
I'm listening to this guy, and I'll put you onto him.
Cool. Sounds good. He must be handsome.
But, Brett, like I said, I have a few leans that I gave out during this episode, so people need to make sure they follow our social media because we're going to have some picks between now and next episode. That's at NBBPod on Twitter, at Next Best Bet on Instagram, and the Next Best Bet Facebook page and YouTube channel. This has been episode 184 of the Next Best Bet. For Brett, I'm Jake. We'll talk to you guys again on Thursday.